Hello, it's Carrie Glenn. How are you today? Welcome to the Sell More Books Plan training, Sell More Books. And it's really about just coming up with a plan to sell more books without all that confusion and all the overwhelm. And we'll just kind of hop right in. And again, welcome. I'm from Pacific Grove, California, which is a beautiful little spot with the most lovely weather ever. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about how you can get your book published, how you can sell more books actually, without all that confusion and the overwhelm that I talked about a little bit ago. Now, some of you have let me know that you are wanting traditional publishing while others are wanting to self-publish, and some of you don't know what you're going to publish at all. Also, you've answered a question when you signed up for this webinar that was either this or it was, how much do you know about the marketing? And a lot of you don't know a lot about the marketing, and that is a fair predicament to be in because it is so obscure. It is just, there's so much with book authoring and publishing and planning and marketing that it's a lot. So if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know much, it's okay. You're like most people. And some of you know a little bit about it and you're excited and you think, yeah, I know. So I might touch on things that you've heard of and it'll just maybe give you a different way to look at them. Some of you are like, I know it all. I'm on it. I know about the marketing. And what you're looking for then in this presentation, this program, is the gems, those nice little gems that you can use when you're into getting ready to publish. And now you might be asking yourself, how do I get published? I know some of you have been asking, is an agent necessary? Do I have to get an agent if I want traditional publishing? And then a lot of you just don't have the time. Like, I can't find the time to write. And we're going to talk about all of that today. It's pretty cool. You're in the right place. So we're going to cover that. And here's what else we are covering. We're covering how to get your books into the hands of readers. So you're not only making money from your book, but you're also making impact in the world. And I know that for many writers, that is their main goal. I had a writer friend tell me, Carrie, I don't care about getting rich. I don't care about making a lot of money. I want to write my story. And that's great. And so his goal is to impact his readers, and he doesn't care about the money aspect. Anyway, so the next thing is how to decide between self-publishing or traditional, and some of the basics of both. So you'll hear a little bit about that in the presentation, which might help guide your decision, but please don't let it make your decision for you. Remember, everything you're hearing today is designed to enhance how you might go about doing things, but should never replace your instincts about how to do something. And then we're also going to go over how to use social media and email to get people excited about your book. And we'll talk about understanding the difference between Amazon bestseller and New York Times or Today bestseller. And then the steps it takes to get to #1 bestseller. And for those who stay to the very end, you're getting a free gift from Carrie. You're getting the publishing checklist, which is a document that literally you have a checklist by all the steps you need to do to get your book published and ready for market. Also, just so you know, why am I going for all of this trouble for you for nothing? It's just a free training, and that's because, yes, at the end of this, I will present an offer to you, and the hard pitch is going to be, do you want it or not? Because I am not one of those hard-pressed sales pitchy people. This is not one of those types of webinars. It's basically information for you with an offer at the end to maybe work with me or find out if it's even possible to work with me. Some projects don't warrant that, and other projects do. So you'll hear about that at the very end. All right, so let's hop right into it and talk about some of the things that are a little bit scary out there in the marketing, book marketing especially, world. And we have a lot of these so-called marketing gurus. They're self-proclaimed they might be proclaimed by other people, but they're basically people who know a lot, know enough about it to take your hard-earned money and run with it. And these gurus tend to promise you #1 bestseller. They charge tens of thousands of dollars, and they often leave out the whole truth of what's involved with getting to bestseller, for instance, or selling more books. I would like to tell you about one of my clients who we released her book. It hit #1 bestseller, speaking of #1 bestseller, and it hit #1 new release, and it got that little tag on the page, and the category was job markets and advice. So it wasn't some random obscure category, and here it is, The Corporate Hippie. So this book, when it was launched back in March of 2021, you can see right here, here's that new release rating. And this was when it still only had one book review. So that's really good in this, in Amazon, to be able to hit one of these #1 best-selling lists when you only have one review. So that took a lot of work to do. Let's see here. Right. So here she is as a #1 new release in sales and selling. This here was pretty exciting for all of us because this is a even bigger category. So we were pretty thrilled about this. And you'll notice here that she was top 100 in books. She was #1 in the job markets and advice, #3 in self-help and in new age religion, and #21 in sales and selling. So you see how at that point she was 21, and up in the picture it shows that she was #1. So she had a clear, fun run to all these bestseller lists. And here is back when she was #21. Notice even at #21, she was further up that list than Zig Ziglar, than Brian Tracy, than Donald Miller's Building a Brand storybook. And these are all very intensely popular books that sell by the dozens, and yet her book did beat them out. We love you, Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar and Donald Miller. But it was fun to jump in front for just that moment. And this is another client who you might have heard about him in the emails leading up to this. He had no plan at all for his book launch. He just was launching on X day, and I had another friend who I referred to earlier who he just really wanted to touch his readers. And when he launched his book, and I helped edit his book, and when he launched it, it just sat there. He got a couple of reviews, and a year later he's still there with just those reviews from a year ago. And although it was a lot longer than a year ago that he published, it was a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, but at some point the reviews kind of stopped, and it's just sat there. And so when this happened, I was so bummed that I didn't come up with some kind of a marketing plan for his book. So when my other client and friend here, Arnie Buss, and it says Lee Garland down there, it's a double authors, and when they launched their book, again, it was going to be just, we've told a few friends. So I couldn't sleep, tossing and turning all night long, and I realized I can't let this happen again. So I just jumped up, and in just a couple of clicks and a couple of seconds, I sent off an email to 40, 50 of our closest friends, and he obviously didn't make it to #1, but he did make it to the top 100 list. And so that was really exciting for us, for him to make it there and be in that top 100. Let's see here. Now, there's a lot of mistakes that people make when they're coming up with their marketing plan. And these mistakes tend to really derail, especially new authors or those who are dealing with the publishing aspect for the first time. So a lot of people think, like my friends, that the book will sell itself. I'll just launch it out there, people will start buying it. That cannot be further from the truth. Even with a runaway hit, there's still this group of people that have to kind of give it its nudge into the world. So that's the top mistake, is that the book will sell itself. And then there's the group that knows that the book is going to need a little help selling itself, so they get on the Googles, they get on the interwebs, and they start Googling, how do I market my book? And they grab whatever advice they can get, and they implement it, and get mixed results. Some things are working, some things aren't. Maybe nothing works, and it's very frustrating. Maybe they hit gold, and they get lucky enough to hit information that's good, and they do well. So it's still what Frank Kern, who is a fantastic copywriter and digital marketer, he refers to it as luck advertising. Luck advertising. You're going on pure luck, hoping that, or that someone will buy. I think maybe he calls it hope advertising. So we don't want any of that. And basically what happens is writers don't have a plan. Like, what are you going to do when you write your book? I don't know. I guess I'll sell some. Well, who's going to have it? I don't know. Friends, family. Or I'm going to use it in my business, but, I'm not quite sure how. So writers don't have a plan. Those are kind of the biggest mistakes. Knowing that, let's just jump right into the juicy details of today's training. And I'll just set my water aside as we get going. So, how can I sell more books? And how much money can I really make? This is the section that we're focusing on here. Now, here's the truth about making money. Unless your book is a runaway hit, then it's not going to make a whole lot of money. It may not even recoup the amount that you put into it in terms of the publishing, the artwork, things you need to actually write and publish a book. And then also it is just not quite, bringing in that kind of funds. So your book doesn't just make money. And even with a strong marketing plan, books really can only make so much money. There are things we can do to help that. And, we don't have time to go through all of that in such a short training, but it's important to know that the book alone, again, unless it's a runaway best-selling book that hits the New York Times bestseller list or Today, chances are the book is not going to make a whole lot of money. People sometimes tell me, I want to write a book because I want to have extra income. So unless there's a strategy behind that is designed to make that extra income, the book will make a little. And there is a tip. Audiobooks do sell. So if you are writing a book, include an audio version. So there's the runaway hit. And I had talked to you earlier about the art. Some of us just want to write the book as an art piece, as just getting our message out there. So how can we make money? We can do an audiobook with it. And then we can also attach it to something else that can bring in money. So if your book is a business book, you can attach it to a product or a service that you have and make money that way. My book lives on my website and it just sits there. I don't do a lot of marketing to it at all. And it's $8.87 maybe is the price. Don't even know the price of it. Under $10. And that book has brought me in more than $3,000 worth of income. How? Because one of the clients that I got from that book knew me in a social circle, marketing social circle, and he knew that I did copywriting, and he went on my website, unbeknownst to me. He downloaded my book, read it, liked it, and called me up, and we worked on a project together. And then another client, same thing. She knew I did video script writing, and she downloaded my book, read it, liked it, and then she hired me to do some video scripts and then some more work, website work, writing for her. And both of those totaled well over $3,000. So it's just, you can make money by doing it that way. Now, people want to know, how do I make my book a #1 bestseller? And being a #1 bestseller is a very distinguished, good place to hit. And I'm just going to make sure, yeah, okay, good. And it is important to distinguish the difference between Amazon versus New York Times bestseller. And, for those with the runaway books that make all the money, you do pretty much have to get to New York Times bestseller for those benefits, for that distinction. However, if you hit Amazon bestseller, that is not chicken feed. That's not bad news. It still is an accomplishment. And it is especially an accomplishment if you're not working the system. And what I mean by that is some people will put their book on Amazon and they'll put in these obscure categories, basket weaving under a rock, something that's just no one knows. So of course they hit bestseller in that category because there's hardly any books in that category. So that's kind of the difference too between New York Times and Amazon, is that people know that. People know that with Amazon it could be not as upfront or transparent. However, if you are doing it correctly and you are sticking with your category and you are hitting these number one benchmarks or even top 100 or top 10, then you should be proud of that. Just make sure that when you're telling people, oh, I'm a number one bestseller, that you're clear that it's an Amazon bestseller, that you're not trying to look like you are a New York Times bestselling author. Now, in order to hit number one, you do have to have a marketing plan in place. You have to have a group, a team of people who help you during your launch day. And what happens is Amazon works on an hourly basis. So on launch day, if you get a flood of people who buy your book, it can knock it to number one. If you have a launch weekend, even better. You can keep it there longer. And you really need people who jump in, who buy it, and then who turn around and review it. And you saw earlier my client whose book hit number one, even though she only had one review at that time. What happened is we sold a bunch of books. And so she hit that number, and then we supplemented that with the reviews, which is how it gets to number one and stays there and brings it to number one in different categories. So those reviews are important, and the volume of sales is important for hitting number one. Now, what is the number one publishing faux pas? It is, and this is usually with self-publishing, people will publish their book on Amazon, but they will not publish their book on Ingram Spark. And Ingram Spark is the platform, the number one organization that bookstores order from, libraries order from. Teachers go to Ingram Spark for ideas for books to have in their classrooms. So if you don't, and I don't mean university because they have their textbooks, but if your book is not registered with Ingram Spark, then it can never really be in a bookstore, your local bookstore or the library. And now you may be able to talk your local bookstore owner, maybe your friends, or maybe they're just very benevolent. I do know people who have gotten their book in local bookstores without that distinction, but only one or two, and only because they happen to know the person or there's some reason that the person's just altruistic enough to include the book. But you're not going to get it on a wide scale. And that is the number one publishing faux pas. People just don't know that. They think, oh, I'll publish on Amazon, sell all these books. You have to get it registered with Ingram Spark. So that is the number one faux pas. Now we're at the very end of our program, getting close to the end, where we're talking about the email list and the social media. And do I need both? Do I need either? And my answer to that is, by golly, yes, you do. And if you don't have it going on now, you are losing money. And what I mean by that is, right now in the early stages or late stages, if you're there too, of book creation, we have people who are interested. Oh, you're writing a book? friends, maybe people we meet in the coffee shop while we're working on our book. Literally, when I wrote the book that's on my website, I was finishing up all the editing, and I was pretty much finished with it, but I was working on a few last details, and I was at a coffee shop that a lot of the locals hang out at, and I saw a really good friend come in, and he said, "Oh, what you doing?" And I had printed out my book, and I had it sitting there, and it's a PDF copy of a book, by the way. It's not, I never published it traditionally, but just onto the website, and so I had it sitting there, and he said, "Oh, what's this?" And I said, "Oh, I'm writing a book. I'm finished. I'm getting ready to launch it." And he said, "Oh, well, I want a copy." Pulled out $10, told me to keep the change. I've got that $10 in my drawer with my ballet stuff. And it sits there, it lives there, and it was so exciting. So people will be interested that you're writing a book. And everybody who gives you any interest in that, get them on an email list. Before you invite them to your social media following, you want to get them on your email list. And then also invite them on your social media following, because these two work in tandem together. So when people look you up and they see that you have a page that talks about your book, hopefully an author's page, or if you're, whatever your business is, and maybe your book is part of that business, then you have it there. But people see that you're legit. They see that your book has meaning, even if you don't have a lot of followers. People think you have to have a lot of followers for this to matter, and you don't. Not only that, but you don't have to have a lot of activity on the page as far as engagement with the followers. It is good to, yes, do not get me wrong. My point is, there's a lot of people and a lot of pages that have thousands of people on them, and they get 45 likes when they post, and maybe 6 comments. So that is not as important as making sure that you have content on that social media page, relevant content, talking about the book, talking about developments. Obviously you don't want to give spoilers, but some significant substance there. And you partner that with your email list that goes out. You can start off, going out weekly or monthly, and then let them know, not less than monthly, and just keep them updated. Oh, I've got a title. I'm so excited. Oh, I just edited did my first round of editing, and it was really cool. So you can just let them know how things are going. And why both? Well, I've just explained that we, put them all together and then work together. So you might have an email that goes out that says, "Hey, look at my post. I just did a live stream about this one chapter that I'm working on." So that's how these work together. And I just did all that. How to blend. Okay. And the big question to ask yourself is, do you want to do this all on your own? And the answer could be yes, and the answer might be no. And either way, it works fine. If you are like, "Yes, I'm on this, I got this, I want to do it all on my own," then there you go. But if you're realizing, "Hey, this sounds like a lot of stuff I don't really know how to do, I don't know what to do," then you might, need someone to help you with that. We are near the end of the presentation here, and I want to thank you all for showing up, and I want to thank you for just letting me into your home for this quick 30-minute training. I know that it can be overwhelming to learn all this stuff. So those of you who stayed this long, you can watch your email inbox, and you will get a checklist copy PDF of everything we went over today, and it'll go into a few more of the details in those nooks and crannies that we visited. Like I said, you can't just teach it all in the short 30 minutes we have together, but you can look at the checklist for things to fill in, to fill in those spots that we might have not been able to go over in deeply today. Let's see. So the offer. Woo! So the main offer here is, if you are thinking like, "I don't want to do this on my own. I want someone who's been there, who's been in the trenches. I want someone who has pushed the publish button." Then throw your number in a private chat in the chat there, and we will schedule a 30-minute consultation and see if we could work together, how that might look, and if you're even interested, and if you even fit what I need for you to fit to make it a match. Everything needs a match, and I know there's a lot of marketers out there who will take anybody, and they'll, as long as you've got money, get over here and I'll take it and market your book. And it doesn't quite work that way with me. If you did or have or do at some point hop over to carrieglenn.com and download my book and read it, you will find in it that there's, in one of the chapters, it talks about falling in love with your clients. And to me, you can't just take on anybody, any job. It has to fit, it has to mesh well. And I do tend to fall in love with my clients and their work and their readers. And if I can't do that, I'll let you know. I'll say, well, this might be a good fit for somebody else. That consultation does let us both know how that would play out. And it is not at all a high energy sales pitch. Kind of like this offer here. You either want help or you don't, and that's perfectly fine with me. So know that on this consultation, I'll give you a couple of tips that will work best for your book when it does come to market. And if you want to continue, we'll set up an appointment, or we can get started and we'll talk about how that would work. But if just the couple of tips you get will be worth the 30-minute consultation for sure. And if that's all there is, that's all there is, because that's okay. And the main thing is getting those books out there. I heard a speech the other day. In fact, it was yesterday. A really good friend of mine gave a speech. He's a Toastmaster, and I'm in the Toastmasters Club. And he was talking about giving your knowledge to others, whether it's in a book or to your grandkids or to, maybe your art or whatever. But in this case, it would be your book. In your book, your characters contain your wisdom. Your characters contain your story. Even if it's a business book, well, in that case, it contains your business wisdom and know-how. So you have a story in you. And the most important part of any of this is getting that out into the world. And as writers, you're already showing that you care about others by writing the story. And, that is where I'd like to help you. Get it out there to more people. Again, remember, throw your name and number in that message, and I will grab it up and give you an opportunity to see if we work well together. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the other side.